We're on the Get Foxy show again, here live, this time with Trina L. Martin. Trina, thank you so much for taking the time. You are an author of a book called From a Mess to Amazing.
Yes.
What inspired you to write this book?
You know, my life did. My life, and looking back and thinking what I had gone through, and if I had someone that could have helped me or encouraged me when I was in the midst of it. So I realized that I wasn't the only person who had the issue. I grew up one of four children. I was the youngest of four, and I had a verbally abusive mother, and that really just tore me down. My self-esteem was bad. I didn't know my worth. And it took me well into my 40s before I ended up getting past that bitterness and that anger that I had, because all of that stemmed to um, being in bad relationships. But it also made me driven. I ended up being a type A person. So I was driven to succeed. I was checking all the boxes, career, everything. But then on the inside, I was a total mess. And there's so many people out there like that. And I wanted to share my story, how you could have a mess, but that doesn't define your life and doesn't define who you are. And I just wanted to share that with other people, because I know people are going through some similar things. And sometimes you feel helpless and hopeless, and you're going, man, I've made mistakes. I've made poor choices. The life that I had planned is not going the way that I hoped to go. And, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes what's better is how you're going. I call it a detour in life. And that's why I wrote the book.
I can definitely relate to what you're talking to there. Earlier in my life, yeah, I mean, I felt like I've got all this put together on the outside, but on the inside, it was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Am I qualified to be doing this? Am I enough? I mean, there was so much internal struggle and just wearing this mask of, I guess you could say, perfection, although it wasn't perfect.
Yes. Yes.
So how did you kind of work through all that? It sounds like it took you till you were in your 40s.
Yeah, it took a long time, just going through it. And how my mess showed up was in relationships. I would choose the wrong guy, thinking that, oh, I really know that this person is not right for me, but there's nobody better. I'm not going to get anybody better. So I'm going to be with this person, thinking that this person was going to change or appreciate me. And I just see myself, I would see myself in a cycle doing the same thing. And it started just to make me angry and bitter, because I was going, why is this happening to me? I'm a good person. Why is this happening to me? And finally, when I hit 40, I said, okay, I'm tired of this. Let me really start looking in myself and doing some self-worth. And it's funny, because I have a friend who, she and I have been friends for about 30 years now. And she would always say, know your worth. Trina, know your worth. You're a good person, know your worth. And I really didn't understand what she was saying. I mean, I heard her, I understood, but I really didn't understand until I started to look within myself. And I said, yeah, I'm selling myself short. I'm settling for people who, I know I shouldn't settle for, but I'm thinking I don't have anything better coming to me. So it took a lot of self-reflecting. I went to therapy. I got back into church, and just started forgiving myself. And sometimes we don't do that. We think about forgiveness for the other person, but we never think about forgiving ourselves. We beat ourselves up. We say, "Oh, you're stupid," or "You're dumb." Why did you do that? How stupid are you? And we don't really see that, okay, we're human. We make mistakes. We make poor choices, and we just have to forgive ourselves and keep moving on. And that's what I did. It was a long journey to that point, but I had to do it.
Self-forgiveness can be so tough. It is.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, again, personally, I can relate some of the mistakes that I've made. Oh my goodness. And I mean, just just looking back, for example, um, when my oldest son was going through cancer treatment and dealing with my younger son and his anger issues. I mean, his anger was reflected back in my anger, and oh my goodness, it just, there was so much there that I felt horrible for,
Hmm.
in either getting angry at my young kids or angry at my wife and then angry at myself, and just, so then having to go through that forgiveness process was definitely difficult. How
Hmm.
did you manage to get through that?
You know, I actually had to turn back to, to God, my faith and my spirituality, because it's hard. Forgiving yourself and actually taking a look at yourself is confronting. So that's why so many people don't do it, because it's like, ooh, okay, I can look at you and say, oh, Terry, you shouldn't do that, or you should do things this way. Da, da. But we never look at ourselves that like that, right? So it's very confronting. And with this mother that I had growing up, who was very verbally abusive to me, my goal through life was, I want to get away from her. I want to succeed and just never turn around. I don't want to be like her. And I would never forget. It was after I got divorced. My children were small. I have two brothers, one, which my eldest brother, he and I are very close. And I was talking to him on the phone, and I was just, ranting about the ex-husband and how he didn't want to do things for the kids. He didn't want to provide, blah, 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 blah. And my brother sat and he listened. And when I was done, he said, you know who you sound like? I said, who? He said, Mom. And that just blew my mind. I said, what? He said, yeah, you sound very bitter. You sound very angry. And I was like, wow. And that moment, that made me say, you know what? I need to step back and take a look at myself, because here, my brother, who he's my breath, he's everything to me. For him to tell me that I was like my mother, this woman who, treated me horribly, who I didn't want to be like, for him to say, oh, that's who you're like, I'm going, okay, I'm on the wrong side of the road here. Let me dial it back and start to really do some self work. And that's what I did. And I started realizing that the root of that anger and bitterness was because of her, but it was also from all the mistakes and things that I made along the way, trying to gain acceptance. And I was mad and I was angry because I knew, better. You expect so much for yourself, and then you get frustrated and you get angry with yourself. And I had just never forgave myself. And then, getting back into church, and there's a scripture in the Bible that says, God throws it in the sea of forgiveness. We keep bringing things up, but he's like, okay, you've said it, you've done it, and I don't think again about it. And I thought, well, why can't I be that way to myself? And that's what had to happen.
The book that you've written talks about 7 steps for creating the life that you deserve. It sounds like you've really worked through creating the life that you deserve. So
Hard.
what was the process with these 7 steps? Can you tell us a little bit more?
Oh, okay. So, like, the first step is, which I think is most important, is changing your mindset. And again, it's thinking about who you are and how you show up in the world and what you think about yourself. So, again, it's the stories that we tell ourselves. We tell ourselves we're not worthy, we're not good enough, we can't do it. That person can do it, but I can't do it. So the changing your mindset, forgiving yourself, establishing relationships, and in the book I talk about networking. Um, and one of the things I talk about that I think is important, and when you're in this process, is a lot of times we don't have anyone to talk to. So we feel helpless and hopeless. Whereas if you talk to someone, they 9 times out of 10, they'll help you, whether it's personally or professional, whether they have, and I'm not saying you tell your private business to just everyone. You want to seek wise counsel, but if you talk to someone who you really trust and you value what they have to say, it can make you start looking like my brother. My brother did that for me. My good friend who always told me, know your worth, because she's been there through the ups, the downs. And I would go to her crying sometimes, and she would say, know your worth. Why are you beating yourself up about this? Um, the networking, forgiving yourself, changing your mindset, getting into your physical, I call it PMS because it's physical, mental, and spiritual. And again, your physical, we all think about our body and our health, but you also have to think about your mental. How is that? We would go to a doctor if something was wrong. We go to the gym when we want to lose weight and work out, but a lot of times we don't seek people to help us with our mental and emotional state. And I think that's very important. And going back, I look back as I was growing up, how people would say, oh, they're going to a shrink, they're crazy. Whereas now I'm thinking, yeah, I need to go talk to somebody because if I don't, I am on the edge right now. And if you push me over with a feather, I'm just gonna lose it. So that's very important. I'm trying to remember my other ones. But yeah, it's just it took me a long time to get to that place where I could outline the steps, and I put it all in the book.
This is big stuff.
Hmm.
It sounds like, well, it did. It took you a fair amount of time.
Yes.
Do the people that read your book, does this kind of speed up the process for them, or have you seen anybody transform their life in a way that was just like, wow, I read your book and all of a sudden things changed? Or is this something that really someone has to kind of put some hardcore effort over time into before they see change?
It's something that people really have to put the work in for. And that's something that I say in the book. I say, this is not a quick fix book. This is not, you go stand on one foot, turn around 10 times, and you're going to be better. It is a journey. But I wanted to point out some of those important things for people to know where to start. And like, mindset. Okay, I need to change how I think about things. I need to know that, okay, I've made mistakes, but my mistake from yesterday is not who I am today. It is. It's a journey. And everybody has a journey. It takes time. How you receive it and how I receive it are totally different. It's not going to be, I don't say, oh, well, if you read my book and in a month you're going to be fine, because you have to put in the work. And I don't care who you're talking to or listening to. It could be those people who are out there that are well known, but they all tell you the same thing too. They say you have to put in the work. You can listen to them and you can go to every seminar that they may have, but if you're not willing to put in the work, it really doesn't mean anything. So that's what I wanted people to do. I just wanted people to start reflecting and thinking about who they are and who they really wanted to be and show up in this world as, and know that it is possible. I mean, it is. You may feel like you're a mess, but you can turn that mess around and have an amazing life.
Amen to that. Who was it? Alana Pratt. She was she's been a guest on the show a couple of times. She's a relationship coach, and one of the things she had talked about was being perfectly imperfect.
Yes, that's one of my chapters.
Really?
It is, yes.
And what do you have to say about being perfectly imperfect?
I mean, it's just that we all want to be perfect, right? We want to go through life. We want to say, I did this. I went from A, B to C to D. Life is not like that. You may start out at A, you may end up taking a detour and going around to X, coming back to B. You just have to just go with it. You and I were talking about before we went live about being, things having purpose and being divinely orchestrated. And that's your life. I mean, so many times, and I know I did it. I planned out my life. I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to work here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this type of money. And by 35, I want to have the house and the 2.5 kids and blah, 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 blah. And very rarely is life like that. Can you map out your life like that? I mean, some people do. I don't know who does it, and it goes exactly how planned. But you have to realize that it doesn't happen that way, and you have to be okay with that. You have to say, okay, I'm going to make mistakes. I may not get to this place, that I thought along my journey that I had mapped out for myself. You may eventually get there, or you may not get there. you may have something better in store for you. You know, a lot of times, and that's one of the things I had to learn. So many times I was like, okay, I planned to do this, and I ended up somewhere totally different. But now I look back and I go, you know what? That was good for me, because if I hadn't ended up in that place, I wouldn't be where I am today. So everything works for a reason, and everything is orchestrated the way it needs to be. And you just have to be okay with that. You can't beat yourself up for your plan not going exactly how you want it to.
I think in today's culture, social media and this idea of being perfectly imperfect, I don't know about you, but it seems like social media seems to have this, I guess, cultivated ideal of perfection. We look at someone else's social media page and you go, wow, they must really have their life together. And it seems like social media puts a lot of pressure on us in some ways. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally agree. You know, I laugh because I say the people on social media are living their best life. At least that's what they're trying to make you believe. And social media is just that. People put what they want you to know out there. So, you know, I could take a selfie, I can get dressed up, put on all my makeup and go, oh, look at me. And then come home to just chaos. And that's what people don't realize. The people who are so caught up in social media and looking at people and saying, oh, their life looks so perfect. Well, that's what they're showing you. And it social media is just technology. We've come so far, but then we haven't, because a lot of people don't know that that's the case, that it's not real, or that's what they're showing you. Um, and I try to tell my kids this all the time, who are teenagers. I say, you know, they're showing you what they want you to see. You know, they're showing you their best life, their best day. They're not showing you that they can't pay their bills. They're not showing you that, you know, their children are whatever, or their marriage is breaking up. They're not going to show you that. So people people need to just be concerned with their life and what's going on, and not try to compare themselves to other people. And that's where we all get, you know, just misguided, comparing ourselves, thinking, well, that person is there, how come I'm not there? Can, you know, should I be at this point here? No, you should be exactly where you are. um, and just the comparison thing, being comparing and trying to live your life to get likes and follows and the fake friends is, yeah, it's pretty detrimental.
Most of the folks that I've talked to that have written books have kind of discovered something through their writing process. What was the most, I guess, surprising or enlightening thing that you kind of came across through your writing process?
Oh my goodness, you know, I've come across a lot. I learned that yeah, a lot about myself. I actually, in the book, I ended up being vulnerable a lot. Things that I never thought I would share, I ended up sharing in the book. And I guess that's what I learned about myself. I learned that the things I had gone through and the things that I shared that I was vulnerable with would help someone else. And I'm just glad that I was able to share those things, because for so long I was so hard on myself, thinking that I was a bad person. So I was like, oh, my mistake. Who's going to listen to me? You know, I've made these mistakes. Who's going to read my book? You know, I'm not this person. I'm not that person. But really, you never know who you will impact. I mean, if it's just one person, there's somebody that you could help and impact. And that's what I saw with my life. I saw that, yeah, I was perfectly imperfect, and that I was okay with that.
This theme of vulnerability seems to keep coming up every so often with each of my guests, and it just amazes me because this was a concept that I just it really came through to me while my son was going through his cancer treatment. And I've said this before, I had to have kind of a breakdown to have a breakthrough,
Mm-hmm.
where I felt like I had to be strong for my family and put on this facade of strength so that everybody, they were crumbling around me, but I was going to be this strong person when really I was just crumbling and dying inside. And it took some coaching for me to figure out, oh, yeah, okay, people can't relate with this guy who tries to be everything to everybody and is just so strong. He's Superman. He's alien.
Right.
People don't relate. But when you can say, yeah, I was cratering and I was
Mm-hmm.
breaking down and I felt so broken, people relate, and it
Yes.
makes you more human. And when you're human, that's where the magic happens. That's where you can establish relationships with people. And that really makes you so much more relatable.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's just like what we were just talking about with the social media and the, living your best life for other people. But when you're honest and you're vulnerable and you show people that, okay, I have humanity, I make mistakes. People relate to that. I can so much more appreciate someone who says that than someone who's saying, oh yeah, I'm living my best life and my life is so great and it's gone all the way, I planned it all my life. And it's like, really? And I talk about that in my book. I laugh because on the forgiveness part, I say, forgiving yourself and other people. And I said, some people are able to forgive, no problem, and some people not. And I said, I'm one of those people who I'm not so quick to forgive, just because I'm not, and I don't think most people are. But I think telling the truth and saying that, people are going to say, "Oh, yeah, I know." But when you're like, "Oh my God, you should forgive," and forgiving is so easy, and you should do that, most people will be like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." That guy ran over my cat, so I'm not really so forgiving of that right now. But it's things like that that people relate to when you're human. When they show that somebody can relate and say, "Oh yeah, I know what you mean about not being so forgiving because whatever happened, that happened 20 years ago. I know I need to let it go, but there's still a bit of me that's still there." We all can relate to that. We've all been there. And it does. It makes you just, other people want to talk to you. Other people want to listen to you. Other people want to, share with you because they say, okay, he's a guy just like me. Like you said, you were sharing with your family, and your son being ill. There's other people out there who, have suffered that same thing and may have not had anyone to go through or might have felt that, who do I talk to? You know, am I supposed to be this pillar of strength? But when they hear you say, you know what, yeah, I was this person here and it tore me down, people can say, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. So I think that's important, especially when you're trying to establish connections with people. And I'm all about being real. And because my thing is, what you see is what you get. I'm not going to try to put on the fake front or the air to make you think I'm more than what I am. It's just what I am. And I realized also with writing the book and sharing those things that it wasn't going to be for everyone. Some people were going to like it, some people are not. And I had to get okay with that too, because I thought, oh my God, I'm sharing all these different things about myself. What if people judge me? And I had to get past that. I had to say, well, you know what? People are going to judge whatever you're going to do. And the person who's judging is not for them. They're probably not going to read it anyway. But the person who wants to hear it, or a person who may be in that same situation and wondering whether they can move on with their life, that's who that book is for.
Amen to that. I'm going to switch it up a little bit and ask you the question I ask all my guests. And that is, what is your definition of Foxy? What does Foxy and being Foxy mean to Trina L. Martin?
Ooh, Foxy. I'm a child of the 70s. So when you say Foxy, I think of so many things. Um, Foxy is a state of being. a state of uh, confidence. And like I said, I'm a child of the 70s. So when I hear Foxy, I think, oh, sophisticated, sexy, kind of sassy, all of that. Being smart and putting all of that together. So it's just who you project. It's like, well, you know how you say you see some people and you say, oh, they have it or they have charisma. I think Foxy is that walking into that room and being so sure of who you are that that makes you Foxy. I mean, I have seen people who have been not so attractive in certain people's opinion, but the way they carried themselves and they had such confidence and they was such a good person and had such a great personality that you were just like, wow, I love this person. This person is great. That's being Foxy.
And who are the Foxy people in your life?
Me. I'm Foxy. I think my kids are Foxy. I really do. I look at them and they're amazing. My daughter, she's 15. She is an artist. I mean, from the time she was able to pick up a pen, she's been drawing and she knows that's who she is. She's like, that's all I want to do. I want to do my art. My son, we're still working on him, but he's still happy with himself. So, you have to say something about that. He's not trying to, go by my whatever I'm trying to tell him to do. Is like, I asked him, I'm like, hey, what do you want to do with your life? He's like, I don't know. He gets on Xbox every day. He's like, I don't know. I was like, well, you're on Xbox every day. Do you want to program and create games? He's like, I don't know. But they're happy. They're good people. They're happy. And you know what? That's being Foxy, just being who you are, not worried about what other people say or think, but being happy with yourself.
So when you're not feeling so Foxy, what are the things that you do to help reclaim that foxiness?
Oh my goodness. When I'm not feeling Foxy, I'm like at home in sweats and just totally like baseball hat and not going anywhere. But to regain the foxiness, I guess I start thinking about who I am and just like I said, telling myself in that confidence, because every so often I call it mirror work, where I stand in the mirror and I say, okay, I'm smart, I'm funny, I'm this, just that reassurance that I give myself. I'm just talking to myself. And sometimes to get back to my foxiness, I have to do that. I have to say, you know what, Trina, you're smart. You got this going on. You can share this with the world and you're an awesome person. And everyone can do that. It's a matter of you just talking to yourself and really um, motivating yourself, loving yourself.
How can people find your book? How can they find out more about working with you?
To work with me, my website is www.trinalmartin.com. And my book is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, every place you can purchase the books. And if you purchase the book, I have a free workbook download that goes along with it.
Excellent. Well, there you have it, friends. Check out Trina's website. Go get that book, get that free workbook, because let me tell you, Trina is doing some amazing things here on this planet. Trina, thank you so much for taking the time. Our time's up. It just flew right by.
No, I was like, already? It's like, wow.
So thank you so much. I sure appreciate it. And God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you as well.